So last week we had Kelly Cardin on, and he's a supervisor, and that was a good time. And before that, we had Sean Osborne on, and he talked a little bit as well. And today, I might have a guest, but it will depend on her lunch break because that's how that works, or I should say their lunch break. We respect pronouns on this show, and we respect people's right to have individual liberties and have those respected. If you're wondering what's in my solo cup, it's Dr. Pepper, which is actually, believe it or not, pushing it because I have liquid limits, but that's beside the point, and that's up to me. So, one thing that you will not get on this show is you will not get me out here and really getting loud and proud and in the face, and basically we don't want to have any situations that feel like Fox, where I'm, basically yelling and spittle is coming out of my mouth, and one of these. Well, what I'm trying to say is that the horses are definitely causing trouble, and we need to do something about these horses. We need to do something because we cannot just sit here idly by and let America get taken by horses. Not going to do that. It's an easy type of show to do, but it's not the type of show I want to do. I want a show that educates on personal responsibility and also lets you know the things that are bothering you that you could change, that are affecting you, that are affecting your liberty and your individuality, and looking at the methods by which those can be changed. And by talking about it in a reasonable and rational manner. That's what this whole show is about. That's why I brought it down to things that affect the community, things that affect an individual, and how the community affects you as an individual and puts you in, makes you uncomfortable. And might actually make you wonder, well, why is it that I have to abide by that? Why is that a law? Why is that a rule that I need to consider? Why is that important? And if I can get you to think that way, to think about that, to consider that, then I think that'll be a lot more valuable in the long run. Maybe that's not going to make you a libertarian. But you know what I want more than libertarians? People who can think for themselves. Because sometimes that is very, very rare. And it's very easy to blame some unknown other for issues that happen, how things affect us in a negative way. But it's more difficult to act as individuals and consider things and why those things are happening to us and how we can actually change those based on educating ourselves, based on reading some books, based on paying attention, reading the paper, being involved. Some of those things, personal responsibility. So I have a couple items that we're going to look at. And the first one is this came to my attention. This was actually 2 years ago, I think. And this was that uh, it started out with a health officer coming on to the Cerritos College campus and saying that what she wanted to do, or what they wanted to do, was that in California, a lot of the campuses, like UCLA, I think USC, Cal State, have policies against smoking. And the policy is basically that if you want to smoke on, you can't smoke on campus, like at all, like not even in the parking lot. Like you have to go across the street to smoke. Apparently, is what a lot of these policies, a lot of what these colleges have, and they wanted to do that with Cerritos College, and basically, I was kind of, I thought it was an interesting point, but I also knew that because this had been done, that it might be a little bit of an uphill battle. And I kind of wondered how many students were actually concerned about it. So I found out that actually quite a few were. One thing that happens in colleges, especially community colleges, that people don't think about is like a lot of times the messaging, for some reason, especially in 2019 at Cerritos College, was that, we're here, we want to make sure that, all you millennials get your education. But the reality of that is there was a lot of return students, there were a lot of night students, there were a lot of people that did not fit in that category, that were closer to my age going to school. And, I'm going to see if that's my guest. It is not my guest. Okay. That during orientation and that kind of thing, made it clear that, kind of give a feel to these people that they weren't really welcome and they weren't involved. Now, I've taken a lot of time as in student government. I've been in different facets of student government for a lot of times during my life at different colleges. I started out as a senator at Fullerton College when I was 17 years old. And so I was pretty kind of aware of some things. Like I had worked with the night students to try and get them the opportunity to like have votes and access. And it turns out that really night students would just like to have the places that are, where they might be able to get a cup of coffee and some snacks open, because they're coming at night and they would like to be able to, when break comes, be able to get a cup of coffee, be able to get, something that they can just eat, or, something like that. But they don't really want to be involved in student government, which, I mean, that's not a big surprise. Like if you think about it, it is kind of a pain to be involved in that type of thing. But then they would actually get a little bit more voice, and that's usually how the money is spread out. So it is kind of a thing of you have to have someone you really trust to be like a night student rep that's going to be like, yeah, all these night students want this, and so therefore you have to really consider it. Just like, if I was way more votes, you need to spend this much money to keep these facilities open, that kind of thing. But anyway, what I'm saying is basically they didn't want to get involved as much as, they just wanted, snacks and coffee, that kind of thing. And a lot of the returning students kind of don't exactly want to get that involved. But at the same time, uh, they want to be able to smoke, and they don't necessarily want to go all the way down to Home Depot, which is across the street from Cerritos College, and go smoke. So we started kind of talking and working with them on that, with the student government, and saying, hey, we should probably, at least if you're going to do this, put it to a vote, because there's students that they would like to be able to smoke, and they should have an opportunity to do that. And seeing that as an opportunity for the Libertarian Party, I went to the Los Angeles Libertarian County, and at the time, when I first started with this, I'm trying to remember if I was. I don't think I was I was on the. I don't think I was on the a member of the XCOM at that point, but later I was. But I went to Angela McArdle and Kevin Shaw and said, hey, this is something that I would like to see happen, because one, if we take a position on this, then we as a party can kind of come onto campus and maybe talk to these individuals about other things that might be important to them as well. And so the Libertarian Party, as far as I know, wrote a letter and sent it to the board, saying that they thought that this was a bad idea. And there's other parts of the idea. There's other pieces of the idea. This actually idea gets worse, because the health group that was trying to start this, and I can't remember what the organization was. I think Norwalk, I want to say something, one of the Norwalk organizations wanted to pay, like they were going to have paid positions for a health officer, health and safety officers, that would go up to people when they were smoking, and I think give them papers or something like that, and let them know that they weren't supposed to be smoking. So basically, they'd be smoking cops. Other terms could be used for them that we're not going to use, because it might be somewhat inflammatory. But so this was also part of that. And so a letter was written, and it was just made clear that we wanted to talk to them about this. Now, I'm curious, and I'm going to look this up. I don't know if the policy has changed. It's been 2 years. And during those 2 years, basically, the campus was closed, and it was closed because of COVID. And so the access to the government was not really there. I know that some elections even took place, but as to how they took place, it was really kind of difficult, because it was all done via internet. And I really don't know like how the election took place, or how people voted, or what happened. And so I'm kind of curious, and I want to look this up, and I'm going to try and talk at the same time. I should try and look these things up earlier, but we're going to go and look anyway at Cerritos College. Let's go look at the smoking policy at Cerritos College, because I have a sneaky suspicion that because colleges often you tend to take advantage of, like there's been a lot of times where votes or various things have happened that technically couldn't have happened over the summer. In fact, Santa Ana College, when I was part of Santa Ana College as the vice president, we didn't have a budget that was approved by the time that it was supposed to be approved. However, come the following year, there was an all approved budget that, based on the fact that there was like no senators, there was no, there was, some presidents and stuff. Somehow there was a budget, and to this day, I have no idea how that happened. Even though it was like supposed to be like, this is our deadline and we have to get this done. And then I know that there's some strange things that can be done. Like you can actually have, and they do this sometimes over the summer, where they'll have, and this kind of talks to you about the workings of government. Like, have you ever wondered about, like, how is that possible if they, well, it's simple. They appoint senators because they can't elect a senator, so they appoint a senator. So, and, those senators are generally going to be the friends of the people that are, in power as people working in government. They're going to be friends of the president and vice president because that's who's going to be there. So it's going to be, sometimes what it ends up being is it'll be like the student manager or people that are doing work that are like doing things like ID cards all around, because those are the people that are active and around all day. So, I mean, they're fairly easy to make as an appointment as a senator. And then you have your appointed senator that's there to be able to do the things that need to be done so that they can put in elected senators or non-elected senators so that things can be voted on, because the rules are set a certain way. So basically what they do is they don't break the rules, but they kind of circumvent the rules, which is something that government does all the time. So it's always good to understand how they do that so that way you're a little bit more, aware. But let's see what Cerritos College did about their smoking policy, because this was a contested thing. So obviously they're going to respect, that students, are concerned about this. And I'm going to do a little search here. See if we have a search. I can't remember. And so, little side. One of the things that I've tried to do in when I was a senator here was to try and get resources available to people. And I wanted to create, a very robust resource program. So I had a girl that said, well, what we should do is there's this thing offered on a website. So we should, just let people know about that. I'm like, that sounds great. And she's like, well, we don't want to be pushy. So what we want to do is we want to have a certificate from the student government saying that we support, not necessarily being pushy about it, but letting people know that they could use this resource information, that that kind of like we recommend that there be a resource thing that you can click and get the information. I don't even know if it's here, but I don't know. It's So I'm looking for search function. Oh, here we are. There's the magnifying glass stuff. All right, so I'm searching the site for smoking policy for Cerritos College. And I understand some people that watch the show are going to be like, well, I don't, I just watched the show with, you had a supervisor candidate on, and here we are. Just found it right here. AP 3570 right here. Found it right here. And this was voted on. Okay, yeah. So this was revised 2020, 2019, April 6th, 2020. So this was revised, revised very close to during the pandemic. So this is AP 3570 smoking. I want to see if I can find the letter from the, I've been trying to find that. If you have any access, obviously Angela would, but if you have any access to it, some other access to it, you've seen it, I'd love to see it. It'd be really cool. All right. So even though we were concerned and we wanted to bring this up, let's see. So the policy is Cerritos College, Community College District prohibits smoking, including the use of cigarettes, cigars, little cigars, snuff, snow, water pipes, hookahs, chew, electronic cigarettes, vaporized liquids, or other emission-producing products or devices. As Cerritos College District is a leader in the community, is the district's responsibility to align with the Board of Governors. Oh, that's right. It was someone from the Board of Governors that come in. That's right. Okay, that's part of it. Okay, of the California Community College in May 2018 passed a resolution for a smoke and tobacco-free community college system to support the adoption and implementation of 100% smoke and tobacco-free policies at all 114 California community colleges. 100% and smoke and tobacco free. By the way, I still believe that because smokers are not being given the full rights of being able to smoke, I think that it would absolutely be acceptable for them to say, cool, but then we're not going to pay our student fees in total because our student fees would allow us all of our rights, but we are being denied these rights, so we should be given some kind of form of kickback, money-wise or something like that. The policy will apply to all Cerritos Community College facilities, whether owned or leased. Sale or advertising of tobacco products is prohibited in college-owned and occupied buildings. So can't even advertise tobacco products. It doesn't say anything about, so I don't know if you could. That's interesting because I know that the paper for a while had some. I have to look at that. That's interesting to see if they have, if they're allowed to talk about THC, marijuana products, stuff like that. I don't know. It's really interesting. But yeah, so what they did, and I had a feeling. I'm looking at it right here. AP 3570 is what they basically said, and I'm not going to swear. I'm going to emphasize, but I'm still not going to swear. What they said is, yeah, these people might want for us to look at this and to consider it and consider the fact that these students, should have rights, but we have the protection of the pandemic. They're not going to be able to come and be affected. We're sitting here. We can just pass this. We'll just pass this, and they can pound sand. And that's a lot of times what these big people think, these authoritarians think. They think smoking is bad for you. We need to help you out. You really don't get a vote. Tough tuna, buddy. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to help you out. You might want to smoke, but we know that's bad for you, so we're going to stop you from smoking. We're not going to let you do something that'll hurt you. It's all up to us because we're Big Daddy government. Speaking of which, and wow, I'm kind of surprised that we took that much time talking about the smoking policy at Cerritos College. But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, where something that affects you. Imagine if, like, you're a homemaker, you have a job, and you are trying to better yourself. You want to go and, I don't know, you want to sell real estate, something like that. So you go to evening classes, want to sell real estate, and you enjoy a good cigarette, and you do not know the situation, you don't know this, and you're just, because like you don't pay attention to what's going on the campus, because the reality is this is like you're there for your 3 hours, you find out from your professor what you need, you do your homework. It's a very very A to B system that you're part of. You're not worried about what's going on or what activities are going to be happening or what's going on campus, the radio station or the campus newspaper or any of the myriad of things that are available. They don't affect you. But you go and you smoke, and then you find out when you get a fine from a campus police officer that, oh yeah, so it turns out that you're not allowed to smoke on campus, and next time you smoke, you're expected to go all the way down to Home Depot. Oh, and by the way, Home Depot is not going to really allow that, and they have some security that's not super friendly either. So I don't know where you're going to smoke, but it's actually not my problem. Is generally the kind of attitude you get, and so that's a situation. And suddenly it's like, oh yeah, I guess you just can't smoke for 3 hours, even though you've got class and you didn't get a vote, and your individual liberty has been perturbed. You don't have a say in that situation, and in my mind that's not right. And then at the same time, to be expected to pay a fee or something like that for your identification, which by the way is contestable. You can go and say, yeah, I don't, or to pay the ASV, it is contestable. And it's like, hey, you're not really representing me as a member of the Associated Students, because I smoke and I'm not allowed to smoke while I'm on campus. And because of that, I have less rights than everybody else, and therefore I shouldn't have to pay as much. And yeah, those fees are pretty much like taxes to a degree, but they're not exactly, because you can contest them. Whereas like you can't go to the federal government and do that. But I don't think we're going to have too much time to talk about this. But the other thing I was going to talk about, of course, is menthol cigarettes. And I actually had somebody I was going to talk to about that, because this was brought up to me that Long Beach for a while had done kind of a sneaky law, which is where it's a policy. It's not, how do I say this? It's not like a law that says you can't sell menthol cigarettes within the city of Long Beach, but basically what it is it's if you want to sell cigarettes in the city of Long Beach, they tell you what you can sell, and if you don't, if you sell other things, then they either hit you with fees, or they say, actually, I think it is like basically that you can't sell menthol cigarettes in Long Beach, but it's not, it's weird. It's not like you can't sell drugs in Long Beach. It's like, I don't know. I'm gonna look into this more. But basically, the whole idea is that it's an underwritten law. It's not a law that is Proposition 5 passed, and menthol cigarettes are not going to be allowed in Long Beach. It's the city passed rules that it's implying upon businesses that they have to follow, in which they cannot sell menthol cigarettes in the city of Long Beach, if that makes sense. But we're about out of time, and this has been time to be reasonable. And I'm your host, Frank, and hopefully you learned something. And if you have any questions, have anything that concerns you, something that's bothering you, something the city is doing to you, something the state is doing to you, something someone else is doing to you that takes away your individual liberty, and you want to discuss that, or you want me to discuss that, then feel free to just reply right here on YouTube or anywhere else, and I will answer your questions. Thanks. Have a great weekend.